Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailysheeple.com, and this is your news shot. I'm going to go to allgov.com, where they say a secret 1984 surveillance memo is going to remain secret. That's according to a federal judge who backed the government on its withholding of this 1984 memo that purportedly details the constitutionality of a national security agency surveillance program. Basically saying that, oops, they found it unconstitutional, so let's bury it. This is Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times correspondent Charlie Savage brought the underlying complaint in Washington after filing a Freedom of Information Act request with the Office of Legal Counsel in October 2016. The request, which the office did not answer with statutory deadline, sought a memo by former Assistant Attorney General Theodore Olson on the constitutionality of conducting surveillance not mentioned in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Though the Office of Legal Counsel later admitted to having found two responsive documents, it told the court that a law akin to attorney-client privilege exempted them from production. U.S. District Judge Christopher Cooper agreed with the justification on Friday, comparing Olson's memo advising the Attorney General to an attorney at a law firm lending help to a colleague. Let me stop there before I tell you what the judge wrote. Once you become a public servant, and that public servant is being told something by an attorney, whether public or private, when it comes and pertains to matters relating to the federal government, it is absolute baloney that there's an attorney-client privilege. We are the client, not that person. We are the client. Anytime the United States is given legal advice, whether it be to an assistant attorney general or the president of the United States himself, those people are there because we technically, if you want to go by the rules, put them there. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we put them there to begin with, or that the powers that shouldn't be didn't put somebody there. But according to the law of the land, that person works for us. And through our labor, we pay for their salary. And in doing so, there is not supposed to be this level of, I guess you could say, privacy, where privacy shouldn't exist. Attorney-client privileges are for attorneys and their clients, not for a government agent. That doesn't exist. He says this is a quintessential example, this is what the judge said, of the sort of document that falls within the attorney-client privilege. This is a very convenient excuse is what it is. Advice from an attorney, the head of the OLC, to his client, the Attorney General, and subsequently the NSA, concerning the legal aspects of the client's contemplated actions. Actually, the client, to be technical, is not the Attorney General. The client is the people of the United States. And based on confidential information from the client concerning those contemplated actions, the Times argued that the NSA was not Olson's client, but rather a third party the Attorney General represented. Of course. As a result, the paper argued the memo did not contain confidential information covered under the attorney-client privilege. But Cooper said the reasoning would undermine the purposes of the attorney-client privilege. No, it wouldn't. We're the client. We're the client. The Attorney General is supposed to be representing us. That is not the client. We're the client. Says here, without a guarantee of confidentiality, executive branch agencies, like all legal clients, would hesitate to share private details about planned agency actions with the Attorney General when seeking legal advice, according to Judge Cooper. And he finished, he says, and without such confidentiality, executive branch agencies might choose to forego seeking legal advice altogether and thereby risk public disclosure of private, confidential details about their activities. Olson also brushed aside the Times argument that the attorney-client privilege no longer covers the memo because the memo has not been kept confidential, saying the paper provided no evidence supporting this claim. And in this case, Mr. Savage is absolutely right. First of all, there's no attorney-client privilege. Let's conclude that. We're the client. We have a right to that information. We paid for it, so we should know what it says. And further, it's this type of secrecy that has led to the mistrust, well, secrecy and then the deeds themselves that have led to the mistrust of the government by the American people, and rightfully so. Why on earth anybody trusts the federal government anymore is beyond me. Why? Because we might have personal relationships with civil servants? Let me tell you, folks, most of the civil servants that you deal with on a daily basis have little to no power in making policy decisions and everything else. They basically just do what they're told in a compartmentalized fashion, and they stay out of trouble. They keep their nose clean as best they possibly can, and it goes on like that. But I will tell you that the reality of the situation is once you hit a level, see, in civil service, you've got kind of two levels. We've got three levels. Okay, you've got the elected officials. That's the very tippity top. Then you have what's called the Special Employment Service. These are people that are basically appointed by Congress. You have to have congressional approval to have an SES position. And then once you're in that position, you follow a whole different set of rules than those on the GS pay scale. So you have three. GS are the bottom feeders. Then you have SES. And then you have the elected officials. It's the elected officials and the SESs that actually make all these decisions and work within the secrecy that cause a lot of the problems. Your general GS employees of the federal government typically aren't in the loop. Again, they're compartmentalized. They get told exactly what they need to do. They get a level of funding, and then they go ahead and they execute their tasking. And that's it. So when people associate with civil servants, or they may be friends or relatives or whatever, you think, wow, these guys are doing a good, they work hard, they've got families, they care about their community, all that kind of stuff. And it's true, because they really don't take part in a lot of the nefarious stuff, a lot of the illegal policy, a lot of the secrecy that happens. It's only up at the top that you often see this kind of stuff. And then, of course, in the military community, you have your clandestine, or you have your intelligence apparatus, and then you also have your special forces, your spec war. That's really the only time when you have people of low rank that actually take part in stuff that are, you know, secret, I guess you could say. Or, yeah, secret. That's probably the best way to say it. So, Judge Cooper, you're entirely wrong. This was entirely an excuse. This was entirely something to hide things from the American people. Mr. Savage is totally right. There is no attorney-client privilege. It is asinine. We are the client, and the Attorney General represents us. There is no attorney-client privilege in this scenario. And these documents need to be released, because should it be found, even though we know that it's unconstitutional for blanket surveillance of the American people on American soil, you know, this would be just more fodder for people to rally around to, I don't know, hopefully make change. The American people are pissed. And it's only a matter of time before this government, before these control freaks take it that step too far, where the American people feel like their backs are against the wall and there's nowhere else to go. And when that happens, just like a cornered animal, they're going to get pissed and strike. And if the past is any indication at all, the American people are not one to be screwed with. Because when we do wake up, it is bad news for whoever wakes us up. Because the American people like their sleep. I'm Joe Joseph. This is the DailySheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. # wake the flock up. Have a great day.